So far, we've built the main data and tracking worksheets. But if somebody wants to know what's happening with this client, we don't want them searching through several large tables. Instead, we're going to build a client inquiry screen that brings the information to them. But before we do that, we need to look at an important supporting worksheet, the Practice Helpers worksheet. Some information on our inquiry screen already exists as a single value. For example, client name, client type, assigned manager. We can retrieve those directly from the client's table, but other information needs to be calculated. For example, how many open jobs does this client have? How many are overdue? How much do they owe us? How many record requests need chasing? Practice Helpers calculates these useful summary figures once for each client. Our inquiry screen can then retrieve them when required. The main principle is calculate once, then retrieve where needed. Think of it as your workings sheet, where you do many of the necessary calculations. You will notice that several of our helper calculations use COUNTIFs function. In simple terms, this function, count the records where all of mentioned conditions are met. Let's look at open jobs. Here is the formula. There are two conditions. First, only count jobs or records with this client ID. Second, only count jobs where status is not complete. The not equal to operator means not equal to. So in plain English, count all jobs for this client that haven't been completed. If the client has 6 jobs and 2 are complete, the result is 4 open jobs. We can use the same approach for overdue jobs. Now we're counting jobs where client ID matches, due date has passed, and status is not complete. For waiting on client, we're counting jobs where client ID matches and status equals waiting on client. The formulas change, but the principle doesn't. Our COUNTIFs function counts records where multiple conditions are true. Now let's move to the client inquiry screen. At the top, we select a client ID. Clicking on one of them drives the entire screen. Some information will come directly from the client's table. Other information will come from Practice Helpers. We retrieve client details using the XLOOKUP function. To retrieve the client name, we use this XLOOKUP. Let's unpack it. So, in cell B3 is the client ID we're looking for. So XLOOKUP searches for this ID in the client ID column of the client's table, and it then returns the corresponding value in the client/business name column of the client's table. The 2 quotation marks at the end means display nothing if no match is found. So in plain English, find the selected client ID and return its client name. We use the same XLOOKUP pattern for information such as client type, main contact, etc., etc. It's basically the same XLOOKUP, but we simply change the return column. Now to retrieve our calculated information. Now XLOOKUP becomes even more useful. Suppose we want open jobs. That figure doesn't come directly from the client's table. We calculated it on Practice Helpers. So our XLOOKUP works the same way, except this time it searches the helpers table instead. The same XLOOKUP pattern retrieves overdue jobs, next deadline. This is why we created Practice Helpers first. The inquiry screen doesn't need to perform all those calculations itself. It simply retrieves the finished results. Finally, we want to display all open jobs. To do this, we will use the filter function. So far, XLOOKUP has returned individual values. But at the right of our inquiry screen, we want something different. We want all open jobs for the selected client. A client might have 1 open job, or 6, or none. That's a job for filter. Here is our formula. The basic structure of filter has 3 main arguments. Array, what we want returned. Include, which records should be returned. If _empty, what to display if nothing matches. Let's break our formula down. What do we want filter to return? We don't need every column from the jobs table. We only want job ID, job type, period, due date, assigned to status and attention. So inside filter, we use choose. Choose creates a new 7-column array containing exactly the information we want displayed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 places those 7 columns beside each other, so filter doesn't have to return the entire jobs table. We create exactly the inquiry view we want. Which records should be included? Now we specify our conditions. The first condition checks every job and asks, does this client ID match the one selected on the inquiry screen? Each row effectively produces true or false. The second condition asks, is this job still open? Again, each row produces true or false. Why do we multiply the conditions? Between the two conditions we use, in this type of formula, multiplication works like AND. Excel effectively treats true as 1 and false as 0. So, 1 times 1 equals 1. The job is included, but 1 times 0 equals 0. The job is excluded. Therefore, both conditions must be true. The client ID must match and the job must not be complete. Filter now applies those conditions to the 7 columns created by Choose. If the client has 5 open jobs, Excel returns 5 rows. If they have 2, it returns 2. And if there are no matching jobs, our final argument, no open jobs, displays that message instead. Filter is a dynamic array function. We only enter the filter formula once, but its results can occupy many rows and columns. Excel automatically spills the results into the cells beside and below the formula. If another job is added for the client, the result can expand. When a job is completed, it disappears from the open jobs list. We don't need to copy formulas down, we just need to keep the spill area clear. XLOOKUP and filter. Have different jobs. Our inquiry screen demonstrates the difference very clearly. Use XLOOKUP when you want. Find this item and return one corresponding value. Use filter when you want. Return every record that meets these conditions. So, XLOOKUP retrieves individual values. Filter retrieves a list of matching records. One selection changes the entire screen. Now change the client ID. The XLOOKUP formulas retrieve the new client's details. The practice helpers result give us their current summary figures, and filter returns their open jobs, all from one selection. That's the real purpose of the inquiry screen. Instead of making somebody search through multiple tables, bring the information to the user. And there's an important structure behind it. Source tables store the data. Practice helpers performs the summary calculations. The client inquiry screen retrieves and presents the information. In the next lesson, we'll change the question. Instead of, what's happening with this client? We'll ask what work needs our attention, and we'll build the work planner using filter, multiple criteria, and sort.
Whether you're looking to improve your own Excel skills or train an entire team, we've built a practical course for real-world Excel users. Our 6-level online program takes learners from beginner to advanced and now includes using Excel with AI, ensuring every skill level is covered. For businesses and universities, we support groups from 3 users to over 1,000. Managers can track progress, monitor results, and see team performance in real time. Course levels include online exams, and learners who achieve 75% receive an automatically generated CPD-certified Excel certificate. Individual and corporate group licenses available. Learn Excel. Work faster.